The sun was rising over a dusty city of stone, but the screams had already started. A house had collapsed during the night. A father stood in silence, staring at the rubble that had crushed his young son. Moments later, the builder of the home was dragged into the street, not to face a fine, but something far worse. According to the law, his own son would be taken in return. This wasn't a story from a movie. This was a real law, written in stone, in the world's first great civilization, Mesopotamia. And that builder's fate? It was just one small piece of a much bigger, stranger puzzle. What if I told you that the toothpaste you used this morning was invented 4,000 years ago? That the road your bus drove on might follow a path first carved out by Roman hands? That democracy, plumbing, concrete, and even horoscopes all began in times most of us barely remember. Because ancient civilizations weren't lifeless ruins and forgotten scrolls. They were alive, buzzing with ideas, competition, betrayal, hope, and invention. And if you listen closely, they're still whispering their stories through the cracks in the pavement beneath your feet. Today, we're going to follow the trail through fire, genius, obsession, and even the taste of crushed eggshells. And by the end, you'll see ancient history not just as something in the past, but something hauntingly familiar. So let's go back, way back. Imagine two massive rivers running through what is now modern-day Iraq. Between them, a civilization rose out of the mud, Mesopotamia. Thousands of years before smartphones, or even the concept of years, these people invented something that changed everything: writing. This wasn't writing like we know it. No paper, no pens. It was done by pressing tiny wedge-shaped symbols into wet clay. They called it cuneiform, and it was mostly used to keep track of things like grain, animal, and taxes. Think of it like the world's first spreadsheet carved into a brick. Now, writing down laws came next, and they weren't gentle. The Code of Hammurabi didn't mess around. It was brutal and direct. If a builder made a mistake, someone died. If a person stole, they could lose a hand. Justice wasn't about rehabilitation. It was about balance. Harsh, cold, immediate balance. One life for another. A weight for a weight. A mistake for a limb. And yet, amid all that, there was a spark. A strange beauty in how structured, organized, and ahead of the time these people were. They were designing the very concept of civilization from scratch. No manual, just clay, blood, and brilliance. Thousands of miles away, and centuries later, another civilization was quietly building impossible things. You've seen pictures of the pyramids. They're beautiful, mysterious, enormous. But here's what you probably don't know. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built over 4,500 years ago, and the blocks, each weighing as much as a car, were stacked with such precision that you couldn't slide a piece of paper between them. How? No one knows for sure. Some say ramps, some say pulleys, some even say aliens. But let's be honest, the real answer is probably even more impressive. Math, patience, and an army of workers guided by generations of knowledge passed down from one builder to the next. And here's something odd. While building tombs the size of cities, the Egyptians were also brushing their teeth. They made early toothpaste out of ashes, crushed eggshells, and rock salt. It might sound gross, but it worked. They were obsessed with cleanliness. In fact, many shaved their heads to stay free of lice and wore wigs not just for fashion, but for hygiene. They weren't just builders, they were thinkers, innovators, dreamers. And just when you think they were ahead of the time, the story shifts again. to a city grid so advanced, it makes some modern suburbs look like spaghetti, to homes with actual indoor plumbing. And yet, almost no one remembers the people who made them. They lived in the Indus Valley over 4,000 years ago, and to this day, we don't even know what they called themselves. Their language is still a mystery. Their tools, precisely measured. Their trade, massive and complex. And their cities, designed so well they could handle floods and waste better than many do today. Why did they vanish? Famine, war, disease. No one knows, just like no one really knows what happened next, far to the east. In ancient China, people were building something even more lasting. Not just cities, but ideas. They were studying the stars, mapping the skies, and writing detailed records that tracked seasons, illnesses, even personality types. Ever checked your zodiac sign? That tradition began in the Han Dynasty over 2,000 years ago, and quietly, they invented something else, something that would later ignite revolutions and rewrite empires: paper. But this is only half the story, because while these civilizations were inventing writing and sanitation, another group of thinkers on rocky coastlines and marble cities were about to question everything. They didn't just build, they debated, they dreamed.